is having all the necessary infrastructure next to them and being able to enjoy a comfortable life. And now the Moscow city administration and us walked around the booths that the city administration has come up with, and they prove what I'm saying now. Apart from modern logistics and urban planning solutions, of course, what is also critical is innovations in construction. Without them, it is impossible to develop a modern living environment. And not long grand hopes on the agreement that we are going to sign today that will kind of ground the relations that we have, and we would like Skolkovo Management School to take part in this technological platform as well, because today we have had a serious import replacement. Our industry is really advanced in this respect, and talking about construction of economy class housing, around 85–90% of all construction materials are produced within the country, but we have to move on, and we have really high scope tasks on engineering, pumps, and so on, and it really needs doing. We have to attract investment in this area to reach 100% solution. Therefore, I would like to reiterate that this agreement will give a new impetus to our relations. Andrei Vladimirovich, bearing in mind that a year ago Skolkovo School came up with the Center of Urban Research, so now you have your own expert appraisal in urban research, and the traditional activities of the school in education. What will this partnership mean for you as the head of the school? What opportunities, what new doors will it open to you in the future? Thank you. Zinia really didn't mention that she heads the Center of Urban Research in Skolkovo that was founded less than a year ago, but has become prominent, and I'm happy that our Center of Urban Research will be presented in 6 sections at the Moscow Urban Forum, and we're going to develop some results and deliverables that we have had already, and the topic of urban research is part of my own agenda, and I'm thankful to the experience that I received working in Moscow, and that was one of the reasons why this topic turned up in the school. On the other hand, the topic of cities in the world is becoming more significant, and the level of urbanization is growing. If countries used to compete with each other, transnational cooperation started competing afterwards, and now there is a trend of urban competition because the most advanced people are seeking the better places to live in. Therefore, Russian cities are also within that global competition, and I'm thankful to Alexander Ivanovich for making this step in developing our cooperation. And urbanism in Russia is a patchwork, I would say. We have really advanced experts and mayors that think in modern terms, and like Mayakovsky used to say, we have different mayors, good and different. So we have to deal with all cities showing best examples and Russian best practices, because of course it's good to show global best practices, but it cannot always be directly implemented. So we really have to make sure that we can make it in Russian legislature with Russian people, Russian managers. And with that in mind, we came up with our center, and that is the area that we would like to cooperate with Ministry of Construction, Housing and Utilities in. Thank you, colleagues, and let us sign the agreement.
Вопросы, пожалуйста.
Questions, please. Regrettably, the interpreter cannot hear the question because the speaker does not use the microphone.
Повторять вопрос или...
Shall I repeat the question? Or did you hear everything? Yes, we did. So the second question I have is whether your program reflects your recent idea and suggestion of raising the architect's status. So Andrei Vladimirovich has said a really critical thing now when he mentioned that we have different leaders of regional and municipal level without referring to what they do in other spheres. We are now talking about urban development and planning and architectural look of the cities. And this question is really paramount. Who is an chief architect or urban planner? And we had discussion in that because modern terminology was not clear to some participants, because that is not only chief architect but also urban planner that deals with territory planning and not only the exterior of the city. And currently the constituent subjects of the Russian Federation have different configurations. There are some constituencies where the chief architect status is really very high, and Moscow is a good example, and it bears fruit. But Moscow is a specific constituency of the Russian Federation. It is a municipality in itself as well, and there are other regions, and regrettably there are the majority of them, where the chief architect of the region is also deputy of the Department of Construction, and thus conflict of interest turns up. So there has to be checks and balances system in place, and the political decisions and solutions will not be attracted or referred to by Skolkovo. And as for architect, yes, as for architect solutions, we will address Skolkovo for that. We do have some deliverables on paper, but the ground will be the agreement that we have just signed, and then we will continue our effort, and we have a clear understanding where we move. If I may, I would add that first of all, we are speaking about educating and training the heads of different management bodies in urban planning and social spaces of municipalities and constituent subjects of the Russian Federation to a wide extent. And municipality is the leader in the country in this respect, and educational and training activities is part of our joint agenda. And the second part is research and development, and coming up with information system in those spheres that the ministry is interested in, as well as the main industrial players.